starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison.
Hi, this is William Shatner.
It is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
What's up, everybody? It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. Oh, yeah, we're going to have some fun today. I'm in a good mood today, actually, for a number of different reasons. I am 8-1 in the NFL. I told you yesterday the Saints game was going to go over. And I also told you that the Raiders were going to surprise everyone and win the game outright. JD, I'm 8-1. Now, obviously, that'll change over the course of the season. I'm going to lose some games. But you got to give me a little bit of props here. 8-1 in the first 9. The only game I lost was the Lions. But anyway, that's why I'm – and you won yesterday as well. You had the Raiders as well, which I'm glad to hear. But we got a lot to get to today, a lot to go over. You want to talk about a crazy story that's happening in Henderson, and it involves drag queens. Let me explain real quickly. So there's this thing called, I guess you could call it drag queen story time, where you have a drag queen walk into a library and tell stories to people in the library. And I guess it's heating up now because it's got all these protesters that are involved. This organization called Mass Resistance. I guess they're for traditional family, and school values and all that stuff. Same stuff Mike Pence says, basically, that I criticize on a daily basis. Well, anyway, we got Chris Davin coming on from Equality Nevada. He's going to explain his side of why these drag queens are walking into these libraries and doing story time. I would have no problem watching a drag queen tell a story. Would you, JD?
I would have no issue with that, Brian. No.
No. In fact, I enjoy the show Divas. I've seen that show a gazillion times. I've enjoyed it. Anyway, we'll get to that coming up in hour number 2. By the way, tomorrow marks the anniversary of 9/11, of course. All those brave men and women who lost their lives on that day, and we're going to have some special guests tomorrow talking about that. Mike Lavinati will be on the show tomorrow to talk about that. Coming up later in the program, we're going to have John Brookhagen come in studio, former Clark County School District teacher, who could give us a rundown on what's going on with the school district. And coming up in the 11 a.m. hour, Barry Brandt, our tennis guru, will be joining us, talk a little tennis with him and some golf as well. But today is also a sad day in America, JD. Do you know why today is such a sad day? Do you have any idea? Today's a very, very sad day.
Today is September 10th.
It has nothing to do with September 11th.
Okay,
Why do you think today?
I have absolutely no idea.
Why do you think today is such a sad day for America? It really is. I'm really heartbroken. You know why?
I have no clue.
Well, guess what? It appears as though the Palins are suffering a divorce. I know. It's really sad. I'm going to have to buy some extra tissues today because they seem like such a stable family, don't they, JD?
Not particularly.
No? Oh, okay. Well, anyway, Sarah Palin's husband, commonly referred to as Alaska's first dude when she was governor, seeking a divorce after 31 years of marriage. The paperwork was believed to be brought in by Todd Palin, of course. Differences, incompatibility. The filing was put in on Friday. Now, keep this in mind. By the way, I wonder if Sarah Palin's blaming the media for this. It's the media. It's the media. I mean, she's basically the reason why John McCain was not the president of the United States, in my opinion. But anyway, that's another story. They're certainly no strangers to domestic violence. Starting with the news soon after she joined McCain on the ticket that her then teenage daughter, Bristol, was pregnant. That has nothing to do with violence. But more recently, the couple's eldest son, Track. By the way, who names their son Track? What mom and dad come up with the name Track? What's track and field? What? I don't understand. Have you ever heard of that name before, Track?
No, I never have.
No. I mean, I'm just trying to understand what goes through one's mind as a parent to put a child through something like that. Like, what's next? You're going to name your kid soccer or basketball? Track? I just don't understand that. Anyway, there's a lot about the Palins I don't understand. But anyway, Track served less than 2 months at a halfway house after a conviction for assaulting his father back in 2017. So it sounds like a really nice son. Track also was accused of punching his then girlfriend back in 2016. He pleaded guilty to misdemeanor possession of a firearm while intoxicated. That's nice. Those charges were eventually dismissed, believe it or not. A brawl broke out at their house party involving members of Sarah Palin's family back in 2014. Anyway, it's a trashy family. That's what I'm trying to say. They are trash. And I do think that Sarah Palin is maybe not the solely responsible, but I think she's a big part of the reason why John McCain was not elected as president of the United States. You could thank her. I think she is an absolute nitwit. I don't think she's extremely intelligent. In fact, I think she's stupid. And, she just blames the media for everything. Very similar to Donald Trump, by the way. And by the way, I would put the odds at favorite, minus 200, that within a year after Trump leaves office, I think that the First Lady will be divorcing him. I will take those bets, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, so they're going to be going through a divorce. And like I said, it's a very sad day for America that the Palins are going to be splitting up. I mean, I'm really heartbroken over this, JD. I might have to take some antidepressants. I'm not happy about it. But anyway, the Palins are breaking up. Very sad to hear that. I wanted to talk a little bit about the NRA and the situation going on in San Francisco, because as you remember, politicians over there in San Francisco, a very liberal city, they've called the NRA a domestic terrorist organization. And now the NRA is suing them for that. Now, do I think the NRA is a domestic terrorist organization? Well, I think of the NRA, I think the same way I think of some of these cigarette companies, right? Cigarettes kill people. These companies that run, these tobacco infestations are out for one reason and one reason only. They want to make money, and they know that it's killing people. I look at the NRA the same way. Selling cigarettes, running a company that sells tobacco, it kills people. It is bad for society, period. And I think that the NRA is very similar. Would I call it a domestic terrorist organization? No, I wouldn't say they're Al-Qaeda.
By that logic, then so is Anheuser-Busch.
Well, sure. I would never call them a domestic terrorist organization. But I would say that companies that sell products that kill people, I'm not for those companies. I think it's bad. It's one thing if you're selling a candy bar, selling sweets or something along that line, but it's another thing, if you're selling a product that absolutely 100% kills you. I mean, cigarettes do that, and the NRA is doing that. Quite frankly, they're not out for your best interest. I certainly don't believe that the NRA is out for your safety. They're out for selling as many weapons as possible. They don't want gun legislation. They don't want background checks. They don't want red flag laws. They don't want any of that.
Well, I'm sure the actual premise for the NRA is that they want to help people protect themselves from perils. And to be completely honest with you, guns do not kill people. The bullets inside the guns kill people unless, of course, you're getting pistol whipped, which doesn't happen very often.
Of course, that's obvious, but we all know that, if you have a gun that can execute 40 or 50 people in under a minute, it's extremely dangerous. And I had a conversation with a few Metro police officers last night. I was out catching Monday Night Football. There were a few officers that I was talking to, and they told me, they said, we're told if somebody has an AR-15, an AK-47, whatever, any type of assault weapon, they're told to step down. Do not engage that suspect. And all three of the officers that I spoke to last night, they all told me the same thing, that these weapons should not be sold on the streets. They said they are not political. They're not Republicans or Democrats. They don't get into politics, but they do not believe that these assault weapons should be on the streets. They shouldn't be on the streets sold to the public because it puts society in harm's way. It puts law enforcement in harm's way. And it's only getting worse, by the way. It's not getting better. But the reason why I bring up the NRA is that this lawsuit that the NRA has filed against San Francisco is filed in U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California against the city and county of San Francisco. It accuses city officials of violating the gun lobby's free speech rights for political reasons and claims the city's trying to blacklist anyone associated with the NRA from doing business there. The gun rights lobby asked the courts to step in to instruct elected officials that freedom of speech means you cannot silence or punish those with whom you disagree. Make no mistake about it. This isn't about freedom of speech. It makes the NRA look bad. And by the way, this is continuing because Albertsons, remember we talked about Walmart, Kroger's, how they're not selling certain ammunition and they're asking patrons to not have guns when they walk into these facilities. Well, Albertsons is now the latest major retailer yesterday asking customers to no longer openly carry guns in its stores, including those states where it's legal. A spokesman for Albertson says, we want our stores to feel safe and welcoming for all, so we respectfully ask customers to not openly carry firearms in our stores unless they are authorized law enforcement officers. I'm going to tell you something. I think this is a trend. And I'll also say this. If these stores have at least one security guard with a gun, I have absolutely no problem with what they're doing. I do have a problem. You can't really police people from not, from if it's legal. They're asking you not to. So they're not saying it's a law. They're asking you not to. And if they see somebody with a gun on them, they can throw them out for that reason. So it's perfectly legal what they're doing as long as there is security or somebody in that supermarket or Walmart or whatever that is security that does have a gun. I have no problem with that. I want to take your calls on this.
So do you have an issue with the NRA suing the city of San Francisco?
Do I have any? No, I mean, they can do what they want. I don't have a problem with the lawsuit. I don't think they're going to win.
You don't think they have grounds for it?
No, I don't think they're going to win.
That's defamation or assassination of character?
I don't think they're going to win.
You don't think it's affecting their bottom line? I guarantee you it is.
I don't think they're going to win.
I think they're going to win easily.
I don't have a problem with the lawsuit. Well, we'll take some phone calls on this. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. Look, you can sue whoever you want to. I just don't think they're going to win, and I actually don't think it's smart for them to do that because it just gives them more bad PR. Let's take some phone calls on this. Again, 257-5396. Let's start off with Mike. Mike, what's going on?
How you doing?
Good. What's up, Mike?
So this is quick and right to the meat of it. Are we going to call GM and Ford and Chrysler
exactly
terror organizations?
No, absolutely not. And as I said to begin this conversation, I do not agree with calling the NRA a domestic terrorist organization. I was very clear on that, was I not?
Well, and by the way, the NRA doesn't sell guns.
Well, the NRA makes money off of gun distribution, so how could you say that they're not profiting off of it?
I didn't say they didn't profit, but you stated they sell guns, and they don't.
They make money off of gun distribution. What would you call that?
I would call that making a profit, just like it's the American way to make.
They make a profit. They make a profit off of what, Mike?
Off of people like me paying my dues, probably.
Okay, but how do they make money? How do they make the majority of their money in this country? By what?
What I just said.
So it has nothing to do with guns?
Yeah, it has to do with people like me that believe in my right to carry arms, and I pay them to help me.
So if not for people like you that are buying guns, the NRA would be probably out of business, correct?
Well, that's pretty obvious.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying, Mike. So why do you disagree with me? Why are you picking a fight with me over something that we both agree on?
Because you stated that they sell firearms, and they don't.
They don't sell firearms. They make money off of the distribution of firearms.
I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
You made the statement that they make money off of selling firearms. They do not sell firearms.
So you disagree with everything that San Francisco's doing. I would imagine you also disagree with what Walmart's doing and what Albertson's doing. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So what do you think we should do about these mass shootings? Nothing?
No, I think there's a lot to be done. Maybe just stick with the current laws on the books, and it might take care of a lot of it.
Okay, so what? Anything
Maybe
new?
Prosecute people that are breaking the laws currently, and we'd get a heads up way ahead of it.
So do you think there should be any new laws put in effect? Anything as far...
Not until we start going with the existing laws, no.
What do you mean existing laws? What existing laws are we not going by?
Prosecute people for what they've done.
Well, we are. We are.
No, we're not. People get a slap on the wrist for using firearms. They go after people that are clearly unstable that they haven't gone after.
But we're talking about mass shootings now. If these mass shooters are not dead, they're certainly going to be in jail for the rest of their life. So I'm trying to understand where you're coming from here.
Well, like the guy in Texas a week or so ago.
Yes.
It's pretty obvious the signs were there. Nobody did anything.
Well, I agree with that, but that has nothing to do with the law, and that has everything to do with incompetence with law enforcement, Mike. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. 257-5396. Let's go to Samantha. Why don't we do Samantha next? Samantha, what's going on?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good, Samantha. What's on your mind?
Well, I was just going to say that I think if a store like Walmart or Sprouts has a sign that says no firearms, and so I mean that's their prerogative, and it's also my prerogative not to shop there.
Absolutely,
but
and I would never take that right away from you.
Exactly, and I agree with you. But obviously, it's not going to stop people from carrying their firearms. It's not a law, as you stated. But what I do have a problem with is the state buildings that don't allow us to bring like a university setting. You can't bring your firearm, so I have to leave it at home. if I go on the campus, but yet they don't have the protection for us.
I guess
So-
I understand where you're coming from. And like I've said, there needs to be some sort of security, somebody there with a weapon to protect people if they're not allowed to have firearms. I guess my point would be when you look at these mass shootings, none of these policies would have affected anything differently. I do agree with you there. But I do think it could be a business decision. I don't know. It could be, taking the side of a lot of Americans, not all, but a lot of Americans that want something done as far as gun control. Could be a PR move. I don't know.
Well, it could be for these businesses, but for state agencies, if
Yeah.
they're not going to allow us, if I'm going to get charged for bringing my firearm to one of the campuses, then they should put something in place where they search people coming in and make sure none of
Yes.
the bad guys have the firearms.
That's a good point. I don't disagree with you, Samantha. And
there's no armed security whatsoever.
Well, then I don't. Then I don't agree with that. I'm on your side there. I appreciate the call, Samantha. Thank you very much. 257-539. Melissa, 257-5396. Let's go to Melissa next. Oh, we lost Melissa. 257-5396. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you're next on the Vegas Take. Thanks for calling in. That's a great name, by the way.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's up, Brian?
How's it going? Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's ridiculous that they would call the NRA a terrorist organization. I was a member, currently not anymore, but I do support them, and I would never say that I was a member of a terrorist organization. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Yes.
And like you said, some stores have a bodyguard. I can't afford a bodyguard, so I have to be my own bodyguard.
I understand that, but and listen, I'm like I said, I can't stand the NRA. I can't stand what they represent because I don't think they're out for you. I don't think they're out to protect people. I think they're out to make a lot of money, which normally I wouldn't have a problem with. The problem I have with that is they're profiting, and they don't want anything as far as gun legislation goes, red flag laws, background checks. They're not doing anything to solve this issue. They want the president to do nothing. Make no mistake about it. Now, I would not call them a domestic terrorist organization, Brian, and I've been very clear on that. But I would say I would call them just like a tobacco company or just like the cigarette. I would put them in that category. They're out to make as much money as possible, and they're not out for your best interest. That's the way I feel about the NRA.
Well, can I say I somewhat disagree with what you're saying because I don't think they're really like the tobacco. At the end of the day, the tobacco is right there. It's the buyer that harms themselves. So like when I was a member of the NRA, the gun was on my hand. You know, so it's either I do the harm or I do the protection.
I understand what you're saying, Brian, but I understand your point, Brian. But here's why I feel the way I feel. As you know, hate crimes are up. Mass shootings are through the roof in this country. I'm sure we would agree on that. It's a problem, right? Can we agree on that? It's an issue, right?
Yes,
okay, I'm glad we can agree on that. So with it being an issue, name me one thing that the NRA has done stepping up to try to protect us besides wanting to sell more guns. Have they done anything to try to help?
I think that is the solution because the way I live my life is I try to imagine everybody has a gun, so I should not mess with
So
them.
you think we've had calls like that before. So you think that the answer to end these mass shootings and to have less violence in this country is more guns. Am I getting you right?
Well, more guns with proper hands. I do agree that we should have more strict background checks.
Well, the NRA doesn't agree with you on that. They don't want any more stricter background.
I'll tell you this, Brian. You're not going to end anything.
I'm not an NRA member, but I do agree that we need background checks, and I think we need more guns out there by responsible people. Now the question is, how many responsible people are there out there?
Well, there's a lot of irresponsible people out there, Brian. I appreciate the phone call, but you just said it yourself. And by the way, I agree with you. We do need more strict background checks. But here's the problem with what you just said, Brian. Guess what? The NRA doesn't want that. They don't want more background checks. You know why? Because it means less gun sales, less money for the NRA.
All right, so the NRA they're capitalists. They want to make money. That's why the American dream is to make money, is to profit for whatever reason. Right, Brian?
Yes.
You sound kind of like a communist right now.
I'm absolutely not.
With the entire way that you're having this conversation.
It absolutely has nothing to do with being a communist. I have no problem with a company trying to make as much money as possible. I will explain Well, I want to understand.
And
we got to take a break.
You're not going to just stop all mass shootings, but you can probably
say that.
You did. So you did. You want these things to end. They're not going to end. There's not going to be. It's not going to be perfection.
I didn't say that.
But
all mass shootings are going to end.
Hopefully, some type of legislation can curtail the issue.
That's ridiculous. I never said I want all mass shootings are going to end if we do this, this, and this.
That's exactly what you just said.
No,
actually.
I did not say that.
You said that verbatim a minute and a half ago.
No, I did not say that. Well, we will continue this conversation on the other side. There is not one law we can put into place that will end all mass shootings.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous, and I've never said that. However, there are things we can do that can end a lot of violence, gun violence that's going on in this country. That is a very logical approach. I've never said there's one thing that you can do to end all violence. I've never said if we got rid of all assault weapons, it would end mass shootings or all gun violence. But a lot of things, it would probably help. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get to your phone calls when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. The number to call if you want to be a part of this conversation is 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We'll get to your calls here in a second at 257-5396. Breaking news, as you just heard at the bottom of the hour newscast, John Bolton, Donald Trump's third national security advisor, has been fired amidst reports. The reason for the firing is John Bolton disagreed with Donald Trump in regards to inviting the Taliban to Camp David. Again, this is Donald Trump's third national security advisor. Do I feel bad for John Bolton in any way, shape, or form? No. You decided to work for the guy. This is what happens when you disagree with Donald Trump on anything. Usually, either you're fired or he goes after you on social media. He didn't choose social media this time. He just decided to fire John Bolton. It is unbelievable, but we shouldn't be surprised at this point. We will continue to monitor this story. Eventually, hopefully, we will hear from Donald Trump and he'll comment about this. But John Bolton has already said some things. He said that he assumed that the resignation would happen today, and I guess Donald Trump just pulled the trigger a little earlier. Speaking of pulling the trigger, we're talking about the NRA, this lawsuit involving San Francisco, calling the NRA a domestic terrorist organization. Albertsons has just announced that they are no longer going to be allowing people to openly carry guns in their stores, and we're taking your phone calls on the GCI Guys hotline, which is 257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to join the program, 257-5396. We have a bunch of people who have been waiting very patiently on hold. We appreciate that. Let's go to Lorena. Lorena, thank you for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm fine.
What's on your mind?
I have a question.
Sure.
So we can all agree that criminals don't respect the laws, right? They're going to break the law either way. So when you're bringing down these gun laws, they're affecting law-abiding citizens who would never even break the law in the first place to commit these shootings.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Finish your thought.
So criminals don't care how tough you get on gun laws. They will find a way to get their hands on a gun and commit these crimes.
Okay, so my first response to that is, what are you trying to say? Should we not do anything? That would be my first response. And my second response would be, the bottom line is, just because criminals don't respect the law doesn't mean we should be able to give them easy access to assault weapons. JD, you wanted to interact. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I agree with assault weapons. Now, you're right. Criminals, they'll be able to get Glocks and Colt 45s, et cetera, but if there was a law passed that all automatic or semi-automatic weapons and assault rifles went through the military instead of private citizens, it would be almost impossible for criminals or people like that did the shooting in the El Paso shooting to get a weapon like that unless they went straight to the manufacturer or to the military, and that's what I think should take place.
So, Lorena, my question to you is this: okay,
yeah.
Should we not do anything?
I don't think we should do anything new. I think what Trump said the other day about executing these mass shooters, not leaving them to these trials, just a quick execution would really send a message to these mass shooters that,
many of these mass shooters are suicidal. They're prepared to die. So I disagree with you 150%. That's not a deterrent that'll stop many of these shootings. If you think that's your answer, with all due respect, that's your answer to end these mass shootings, let's just execute every single one of these shooters. I mean, many of these shooters die at the scene anyway, like in Dayton.
Yeah, that's right. But celebrities are so outspoken in saying that we shouldn't, all these gun rights need to come down, and they're the first ones that have all these bodyguards protecting them. Why don't I have the right to carry my gun whenever I have my purchase,
I don't have a
those are my
problem.
property, so
I don't have a
I'm protecting
problem,
my
Lorena.
property.
Lorena, to be
Okay.
clear, I don't have a problem with you carrying. What I have a problem with is these assault weapons, and the only reason why these weapons are made are for mass execution. Okay, I have a problem with some of these weapons. If you want to carry a handgun, make no mistake about it. I have no problem with that.
Well, with the way politics are going and socialism is being welcomed into this country, I wouldn't have a problem with my husband owning an AK-47 to protect all of his family at home.
But that's your
if he ever
husband.
needed that.
But Lorena, with all due respect, you know your husband, and I would assume your husband is a law-abiding citizen. There are nut jobs out there, and when they get their hands on these types of weapons, I'm going to tell you something. If you know a lot about guns, and I would imagine you do, I would much rather this never happen. But if somebody walks into a Walmart that's a nut, and he wants to kill as many people, I'd much rather have a handgun or a knife than an AK-47. You can't disagree with that.
Well, can you agree with Walmart bringing down all these laws and Albertsons and you applauding it is actually keeping law-abiding citizens from being able to pull out a gun and shoot down somebody with an AK-47?
First of all, I didn't applaud it, so I don't know what. Let's be factually accurate. I didn't say that.
Well, you're saying that Albertsons and, they have a right to do this and they have a right to do that.
That's not applauding it. That's the law. First of all, that's not applauding it. That's the law, number one. And number two, I also said I would be okay with it so long as there are armed security guards in the store. So be right. Be factual.
Okay, and this Trump hate is ridiculous. He's firing people that are not competent. And if you can't understand that, it's because you're not either.
Excuse me.
He's firing people right and left that do not meet his standards.
Okay.
The Trump hate has to stop.
Okay,
and
hold
I
on
hear
a second.
People like you, and it's insane.
Okay, so be specific. What have I said that in this show that's insane when it comes to Donald Trump? Be specific, because you just called me a name for no reason. So now I want you to be specific on the record. What have I said specifically about Donald Trump that you disagree with?
You said, no surprise, Donald Trump fired yet another. Do you not
because he's fired more people. Because he's fired more people in the White House than the history of any other president. That's called a fact,
awesome,
Lorena.
Because he
that's
knows how to call
awesome.
people that are not competent.
So so let me get this right. In your world, John Bolton. In your world,
I applaud that.
Okay. In your world, John Bolton is not competent, but Donald Trump is the most competent. But Donald Trump is the most competent person in the world. Is that what you're saying right now?
Look what he's doing.
Do you realize how ridiculous? Do you realize how ridiculous you sound by saying that?
No, you're biased, and you.
No, I call it like it is. You're biased. You voted for Donald Trump. I didn't vote. No,
yes,
I didn't vote.
And I hope
I didn't vote.
Their
Listen.
minds against the media.
Oh,
against
please.
The like yours that are so biased.
Oh, and what have I said?
News.
What am I? Am I a Democrat? How am I biased?
Opinionated news.
How am I biased? How am I biased, Lorena? Lorena.
Criticizing him
so because I don't like Donald Trump, I must be biased? Because I don't like Donald Trump, you think I'm biased to a political party? Is that what you're saying?
No, you're delivering a message which already is tainted.
Well, geez, Lorena, I'm so sorry that I don't say exactly what you like on this show. I'm so sorry I don't perform fellatio of Donald Trump on the radio every day. I'm sorry it doesn't meet your standards. Guess what, Lorena? You're fired. 257-5396 is the number to call, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Beverly. Beverly, what's going on?
Wow. You're angry. But
no, I'm not angry. I just tell it like it is.
Okay, so here's my question.
Okay, I'm very happy, Beverly. I'm a very happy person.
Okay. I have 3 friends, women. Actually, they're not friends. I will say they're acquaintances. They're people I know. These women have been threatened by their husbands. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they're in hiding. They have a couple of kids themselves.
Yes.
Now, the red flag law worries me, and I will tell you why. I happen to know that men can be kind of devious. Women can be devious. Men can be devious. What if one of these men calls the law, calls the police, and says, I know my wife, she has a gun in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 children in the house, and I'm worried about them.
Yeah.
I think she's losing her mind. I think you need to go over there and confiscate her gun.
Well, here's how I feel about that. Beverly. That's a legitimate question. First of all, as far as red flag laws go, there has to be some sort of investigation. I don't agree with just because someone can, say something about another individual, because of that alone, that your gun should be taken away.
Okay, so I will take your point. So let me ask you this: when you say you're for a specific law, when you say I'm for that, and the whole United States says we are for that, how do you specifically say to the government, well, I don't want you to apply that to her because the law will be applied as they make it.
So you're talking about...
problem.
I was just going to comment on what you just said in regards to red flag laws. Now, when we talk about red flag laws, it doesn't mean somebody could just call the police and say, hey, this person has blah, 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 blah. She just said blah, 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 blah. Take her guns away. Now, if there's a text message or a phone call that says that, something threatening, then absolutely take their guns away. But you can't...
How do you know that this man is not going to make that claim? All I'm trying to say to you is, and I get what you're trying to do. I get the whole world. I get what everybody wants to do with guns. In fact, maybe it would have been better that they'd never been invented. Okay? Let's just go that far. And I will say to you, if they come over the border, somebody says, well, we're not allowed to have AK-47s in the United States. Okay, fine. I'm fine with that. But I just want to know how you're going to keep them from coming over the border. I just want to know how they're not going to get into the United States because clearly Mexico says that they're fine.
All right, well, I just want to address, I understand what you're saying, Beverly. I just want to address the red flag law. Let me just, and by the way, I appreciate the phone call and you bring up a very legitimate point. Like I said before, with specifics to red flag laws, I do not believe politicians will put into place just because somebody calls up and says, hey, she said blah, 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 blah. She's got guns. She said she was going to kill me. I don't believe anybody's going to put something in place to say, well, guns are taken away. However, in the case of the Parkland shooter, right, 80 times the police were called to his house. I think that's about enough time to take his guns away. So I think we need to reach middle ground there. I understand your concerns. I don't want everyone's guns to be taken away just because someone picks up the phone and says, hey, she threatened me or he threatened me. No, I don't agree with that. So I want to be very clear on that. We need middle ground, Beverly. And I think you would agree with what I'm trying to say there. JD, did you want to add something to that? No, okay. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Ron. Ron, what's going on?
Gentlemen, good morning. How's everybody?
Good. What's on your mind?
I've got the perfect theme song for your show.
What's
Back
that?
in the 50s when I was around 10 years old, that's 64 years ago, mind you. Actually, 74 years ago, but 64 years ago, this song was a #1 hit in America. It would be perfect for you guys. It goes, abba dabba 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 goes the monkey to the chimp.
I have
hear that song?
No, and I have absolutely no idea how that's relevant to this conversation.
You don't know nothing, kid.
I don't know nothing. Well, you don't know how to talk on the radio. Have a nice day, Ron. 257-5396. I don't know nothing. 257-5396. Let's go to John. John, what's going on?
Hey, two quick things.
Yes, sir.
AK-47, AR-15 is an absolute crap weapon if you're talking about protecting your home. If you're talking about home security,
I agree.
Wrong tool.
I agree. You need a shotgun.
As a hammer. Secondly, the good guy with the gun argument here. People who say that have never been in a beef in their life.
Agree.
The good guy with the gun would be on the ground, covering his head, crying.
John, why is it, I agree with you, why is it that there are so many people that disagree with you? Because I agree, and I think JD does as well.
Here's the deal. Rambo. They watch television. They watch movies. I hate to break it to anybody out there. Hang on tight, okay? I'm going to ruin your day. Rocky could have never beat up Apollo Creed in real life.
You're probably right about that.
And I had somebody ask me, how did America elect Donald Trump? He's Rocky. He's a guy that doesn't really exist.
You're right. And by the way, Rocky Sly is about 4 feet tall, by the way. So you're right.
Oh, I've interviewed him.
Yes.
I was in the entertainment business. Yes, and he would fall apart from all the steroids he's on.
So the point,
Rocky kicked the crap.
And
out
I
of
get your point. The
right?
point you're trying to make is when you're up against, if a police officer or quote unquote the good guy, as you say, is up against an assault rifle, the good guy is going to lose.
It's anybody who thinks the good guy with the gun is going to beat the bad guy with the gun. Are you going to start blazing rounds at a Walmart?
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah. No, John, that is an excellent point. I wish more people would think like you, and we'd have less mass shootings in the world. Thank you, John, for the phone call.
Thank you.
Good point. I appreciate it. 257-5396 is the number to call. I believe our next caller is Carl. Carl, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, buddies?
Good. What's up?
Yeah, listen, before I get to my point real quick, you had a guy on the other, I think it was yesterday, Barry, who called me trying to, my reputation, trying to get it back. you call me nuts or loony.
Well, don't worry about that, Carl. I'll take care of the moronic callers. Don't worry.
But what I want to just say is I've nominated him to be this year's poster boy to support mental health. So
well, there you go, Carl. We can do a new segment on that. So what do you think about this gun stuff?
Okay, the NRA, number one, I don't know about being a terrorist organization, but they're a very corrupt, dishonest organization. And I'll tell you
Carl,
why.
do you know what it costs a year?
If I belonged to them and paid dues to them, I'd be mad as hell. With who's the guy, Wayne Pierre or whatever?
Yeah, his name's Wayne LaPierre.
Yeah, buys $250,000 suits in a Beverly Hills store.
He makes $5.5 million a year as a CEO.
Blood on his hands.
The NRA is, but do you know what the NRA cost is every year?
I do not.
It's $35. Do you know what their revenue was 2018?
Then what?
$420 million. That just means that they have 15 million members, which isn't unreasonable.
But they're on the verge of bankruptcy.
Yes,
you're right. You're right. Their expenses last year were $424 million, so they're actually losing money, despite the fact that we're talking about how much money they're making. They're not actually making any money.
Yeah.
And here's my last point: is psychologically think. No wonder Walmart and Albertsons doesn't want to open carry. I'll tell you why. How would you like to be shopping at a Walmart or a grocery store and a man walks in carrying AR-15 or pistol strapped to their...
Carl, we're in agreement, man.
It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Everybody would run out of the store. They get no business anymore.
Carl, we are in absolute agreement, my friend. I appreciate the phone call. 257-5396 is the number to call. Next caller is Ron. Ron, what's going on?
Yes, hi. I've got a unique perspective on all of this, including Donald Trump.
Okay.
I worked for NBC News as an assignment editor for years. I worked for the mayor and the city council of Los Angeles for 30, and I'm also a gun owner. So it's like it's a trifecta with me. I think what I want to talk about right now, we'll forget about Trump because we already know that's a waste of time talking about. Look, I carry a Glock with me 24/7. All right, I own about 14 firearms, including 5 AR-15s. First of all, if I were the victim in one of these terrible tragedies, I would rather have a guy with an AR-15 walk into the store rather than a Glock. My Glock has much more lethality than an AR-15. It's just not as scary. I can literally put probably 200 to 300 rounds under my polo shirt, and I'm wearing a polo shirt right now, by the way, with my Glock underneath it. I could put 200 to 300 rounds behind my polo shirt, walk in any store in the United States, and no one would know I had 200 to 300 rounds. The problem with an AR-15, it's just a scary-looking gun.
It is. It's terrifying. Now,
it's like a big spider.
Let me ask this, Ron. How long would it take you to shoot 50 of those rounds?
Well, I have 22 and 30 round mags for the AR-15s. For the Glock. The Glock comes with a 10-round mag, but I have 13s, 15s, and 22s for it. So I literally can take a 22-round magazine, shoot 22 rounds, press a button, put another magazine in within probably a second or two. So, and if I use hollow points, I'm going to cause way, way, way more damage.
And listen, Ron,
I totally agree. The hollow points are a big deal.
I appreciate the call. You're obviously a guy that knows a lot about guns, but it still doesn't answer the question: what do we need to do now to stop these mass shootings? I appreciate the phone call, but, what are you trying to say here? We shouldn't do anything?
And again, stop isn't the word. Curtail is the word.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with ammunition. Hollow points, for example, are extremely dangerous.
There are
no matter what gun they're shot out of.
There's not one thing that we need to do. There's plenty of things that we need to do, and I agree. That's one of them. 257-5396. Let's go to Michael. Michael, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. What's on your mind?
Perfect
Michael.
call. That was an outstanding call,
Best
Michael.
call we've had so far.
Awesome.
Must have been somebody from the NRA. They must have just found out they're filing bankruptcy. 257-5396 the number to call. Martin, you're next. What's going on?
What's up, Martin?
Hey, how you doing there? I'm listening to your show, and you got quite a variety of, perspectives. But, your other fellow you had there on air with you about, going through the military to get, these types of assault rifles. But that's a slippery slope when you really look at the
I'm that other fellow, by the way, Martin.
Well, okay. And, as far as what the Constitution actually says and how it was written and what it was implied, that the citizens should have every type of weapon that the military would have in order to defeat a tyrannical government.
So Panzer tanks, bazookas, grenade launchers.
Well, there's a
fighter
there's a
jets.
line, and there's also in the Constitution.
I mean, come on, let's be reasonable.
It's called posse comitatus. You're not allowed to release the military on ordinary civilians. So
okay, so but to be clear,
now, Martin, do you think that now? Let's say back in 1789, when the Second Amendment, which you're referring to, was written and integrated, the most dangerous weapon was probably a musket, right? Now,
yes, and then we had muskets to combat them.
Right.
Now you have assault
rifles.
The military has to combat assault rifles.
Why have we not revisited the Second Amendment to match? I'm not saying change. I'm not saying destroy it. I'm saying alter it to match modern technology.
Because it says also in there. It says you'll not even.
That was written in 1789. That's 200 plus years ago.
So let me ask Martin a very simple question then. What do you think we need to do to stop these mass shootings? Do you think we should do anything?
It's mental health.
I agree with that too.
So that's it. It's just mental health.
It's not. It's not just mental health.
First.
So okay, you said that needs to be addressed first, but is there anything else we need to do?
Yes. If you're a felon and you fail a background check to buy any kind of weapon, okay, fine. You don't get the weapon. So my opinion too. My take on that is if you can't buy the weapon, if you're a felon, you shouldn't be able to get buy the ammunition either. I think there needs to be regulations on background checks on buying ammunition.
I agree with that.
I know, but a lot of people load. I do. I have, but I
all
don't.
All right, so we agree.
All right, Martin. So one thing you mentioned background checks, and that's a very good point. There has been 226 million background checks since 1990, and only 1.4 million of those have been turned down. Do you think that's an issue?
Absolutely, because they're what's called straw sales.
All right.
And they're not enforced.
Martin, I appreciate the fact that you don't think it's just mental health, that there's plenty of other issues that we need to get to. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I got to get to some other calls. Please call back. I would like to continue this conversation with you. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin, thank you for calling into the Vegas Take, my friend. I got about a minute for you. What's on your mind?
What's up, Kevin?
Hey, yeah, I was just noticing with everyone that was calling, it's kind of scary to me because as I'm listening to all these different people, they sound like they're just average, everyday people.
Right.
But you cannot move them on their gun. You can't move them on the issue. They did it right there at the question of what to do about the gun. They will not move off this gun.
Kevin, that's such a good point. And, I wanted to say, Kevin, a lot of these people, they think just because they have a Second Amendment right, they have the right to hold these weapons of war for entertainment value. That's not what the Second Amendment is, right, Kevin?
No, they're blowing right past the Second Amendment.
Right.
The Second Amendment was a regulated militia. And understand that, look, if there's 1 million people in a proximity, what is an AR-15 or an AK-47? What if you have a guy living in that area that has 2 AKs, 2 ARs, 7,000 rounds, and he doesn't go hunting, he doesn't go camping, he doesn't do nothing. Matter of fact, he doesn't do a whole lot, but he's just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And but everybody, we don't even know he's sitting there until he decides to pop one day and go out there, and the next thing you know, everybody, I have a right to come home and see my wife at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I have
but
a right
Kevin,
to see my daughter at
exactly.
the end of the day, you guys.
Kevin,
you also have a right. You also have a right.
These people, you're not willing to give at all, and you have to understand you've blown right past what the Second Amendment was for. It was as if the government was come after your weapons. The government you couldn't defeat the government if they came in after you anyway.
Exactly.
Air Force,
Kevin, you sound like I'm up against a hard break, but Kevin, you sound like a very logical guy. I wish there were more people out there like you that we could all come up with reasonable gun legislation. You know what the Second Amendment is. I know what the Second Amendment is. JD knows what the Second Amendment is, but all these people think that you should have guns as, for your entertainment because it's your right. No, you shouldn't. You're not allowed to have a bazooka. You're not allowed to have weapons of war. You shouldn't be allowed to have weapons of war.
And if you hunt, the meat market is going down because of Leonardo DiCaprio and Beyond Burgers and Impossible Meat, et cetera. So that's all going away too.
Well, Kevin, I hope you never have to face one of these nut jobs. Your family does. I hope none of us ever have to. But it is sad to me what is going on in this country right now, and I don't mind having a gun debate with people. I think I'm a very logical person when it comes to gun control. Kevin, you sound very logical to me. Do I think the NRA is a domestic terrorist organization? No. Do I think they are a bunch of nut jobs and all they care about is their bottom line and they don't want to protect you or me? Absolutely, 150%. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a controversy brewing in Henderson, and it's got to do with men dressing in drag. That's right. Very special guest from Equality Nevada coming up next to tell us what's going on. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KW.